So we're in Goa, India, and going to play in the World Poker Tour WPT at the Delton Royal Casino here a few minutes from our place. The tournament buy-in is $800. They're expecting about 1,000 people. That's what I heard from some other players. So that's a pretty good cash pool. And the tournament structure is 40-minute levels. And my strategy today is to sort of slow play a little bit, not get into too many 50-50 situations, ace-king versus queens or something like that, and flip in for $800 buy-ins. I think I want to cash first and then maybe take some risks later. It's a 3-day tournament, and we'll see how it goes. Walk into the Delton Casino. You could see some of the surrounding areas, some nice colored buildings. Might be in the Latin Quarter or some of these old Portuguese type establishments. And we're just a 2-minute walk from the casino. So. Break. Starting stack was 30K. I have about 26K. 200 players are in. There's about 170 left. We'll probably be playing for another 6 or 8 hours if we make it that far. But no premium hands so far. Had to steal a couple pots. Big whiffs on other pots. Yeah, it's going about average here. There's a couple hands to report. I'll put those in the notes in a little bit, and hopefully see you next break. All right, we're on the second break. I think it's the end of level 7. My chip stack's at 24K. Ran it down to about 16K and made a pretty big bluff. I'll share that with you here in a second. But back up to 24K. Kind of card dead. Haven't had any premiums except for pocket queens, which didn't get called pre-flop. So running pretty slow here, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, we're on round 10. During break, I have about 48K. Blinds are 600, 1200, so I'm doing okay. Fortunately or unfortunately, the chip leader is at my table, and he's V-pipping like crazy, like 100% pretty much. So I'll wait for a good hand, see if I can double up. 3 more hours or 3 more levels until day 1 ends. I just woke up. It's 9 in the morning. It was a long day of playing. It was about 10 hours of playing from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. We got back to the hotel at 2 a.m. Pretty up and down roller coaster ride of a day. I'll go over a few hands, but happy to say I'm still in it and looking forward to day 2 in 2 days. Okay, we'll do a hand review real quick. So the blinds are 100 and 200. My stack size is about 28K. And I'm in the small blind with ace queen off. I smooth call, hoping to induce a raise from the big blind. And sure enough, he does. He raises to 800. And I repop it to 2300. He makes the flat call, and the flop comes out ace jack 8, all of hearts. Remember, I have ace queen off, and so I check, and he checks back. Playing it a little bit passively, but I think it's okay. Turn comes a brick. It's like a 2 of spades, and I bet 1200, a down bet here, hoping to induce a call from a high heart. But he folds and I take it down. Second hand here, so it's still 100, 200 blinds, and I have still about starting stack, maybe around 28K. I'm whiffing some flops, so staying about stagnant. Second hand here is Under the gun raises to 500, and I'm in the hijack, and I have ace-2 of spades. I re-raised to 1300. This is, I don't normally do this, I haven't done it in the past, but I've learned from some of the pro YouTube folks to re-raise this once in a while. So maybe ace-2 is a little bit marginal, but did it anyway. Re-raised to 1300. Under the gun calls, everybody else folds, and comes out queen 8-6, all rainbow. He checks, and I continue to bet for another 1200, hoping to rep the king. It's in my range, and it works. He doesn't call, he just folds, and I take that one down. Not a super exciting hand, but those are the only 2 hands of note in the first 3 hours of playing. So this is the third hand. This is round 7. I have a stack of 18,000. I've been dwindling away. A couple of bluffs didn't get through and just haven't caught many cards, but here's the third hand. Under the gun raises to 1300 with the blinds at 300, 500. And I have ace deuce of diamonds, premiums for me for the first few hours, and so I call, and everybody else folds. And the flop comes out queen of diamonds, 4 of spades, 8 of diamonds. He bets 1,000. I re-raised to 2,600. My table image is pretty conservative, so I think I can rep the queen here pretty easily. Turns out, turn is a 4 of clubs, and he checks. I check back, maybe it's a weak queen type representation. And the river is a 6 of spades, so I don't improve, but he checks again. And I put out a bet of 5,200. I think for maybe a better player, this would be an easy call. My line doesn't make that much sense, but some of the competition isn't that great, and I'm trying to just make sure I get involved with folks that I think I have a chance of just outplaying. And sure enough, he snap folds, and I take that pot down. The new stack is around 24K. Hand number 4 here. So I have about 22K starting stack. Blinds are 300, 600. By the way, the buildings in the background are from Goa, and I'm staying in the Latin Quarter, or neighboring the Latin Quarter, but it's a lot of colorful buildings and looks pretty cool to walk down the streets. And you'll hear a lot of honking, definitely here in India. My hand number 4 is, I'm in the hijack with 10-5 of hearts. This is not normally a hand I would play, but I have been extremely tight for several hours now. It's round number 9. So my table image is pretty good. But the reason why I play this is I look over at the cutoff, who is also playing very tight, so I don't think he's not gonna call, I don't think. And Button looks completely disinterested. He has preloaded his fold. Small blind is a big stack, and the big blind is just as short as I am, so it's a little bit risky to make this play of 10-5 hearts, but I go ahead and do it. So I raise in middle position to 1,700. Remember, the blinds are 300, 600. And sure enough, everyone folds except for the small blind, who makes the call. And the flop comes out jack of clubs, 2 of spades, 3 of hearts. Not the best flop for me, but the small blind, the big stack, checks. I check behind. Turn is a 4 of hearts, and I now have the flush draw and a open-ended straight draw. So this is an okay position. He checks again, and I bet 1,700. He raises to 7,500, and I don't really know what I put him on. I don't think it's a jack. He would have bet the flop. Yeah, it seems a little bit fishy, but I think with a flush draw and an open-ended straight draw, I have to call. I've been repping a pretty good hand from the start. So I call, and the river is the ace of hearts. So make the flush, and I'm hoping the ace hits him. And sure enough, on the river, he goes all in. I snap call, show him the flush, and he has a 7-5 for a made straight with these suited unsuited gap connectors. So he's the big stack, so he can do this type of stuff. But ends up this sort of sent him over the edge, and a few hands later, he had busted from the table and he just gave away all his chips. So my stack goes from about 22K to 45K. So now I'm back in business. Starting stack was about 30K. So we'll see how hand number 5 goes. So hand number 5, blinds are at 400, 800. And I have a starting stack of about 40K. I haven't played that much. Been folding my blinds. Last hand I played was the 10-5 from previous hand. And so under the gun raises to 1800. I look down at king of diamonds, jack of clubs. Not a hand I would normally play too often, but because my table image is tight and I can't fold my way to victory, so I decide to call. Small blind comes along. The flop is a 10 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 5 of spades. Small blind checks, under the gun checks. I think I can rep a 10, maybe a couple overs, and I do have the backdoor clubs draw with the jack. This is not stellar, but I decided to take a stab and bet 3,100. Just try to aggressively take this pot down. Small blind folds, under the gun calls. So turn is the 8 of clubs. Now I picked up the jack club flush draw. There is like a middling straight draw there. Maybe in my range, maybe not, but under the gun checks. I check. 9 is the river is a 9 of spades. And once again, the under the gun checks. At this point, I could probably rep the 10, maybe a queen jack for the nut straight, maybe just an 8 for the straight. I mean, there's a lot of options here. I think the under the gun might be sitting on ace queen, ace king, something pretty high. So I decide to turn this hand into a bluff, and I bet 9,100. And remember, my starting stack is about 40K, so it's a pretty significant bluff. Under the gun thinks for a while, maybe 2 minutes, and starts playing with his chips, and the manner in which he does it, I've seen this before. Pretty sure it's going to be a fold, and the table is actually breaking right at that moment too, so he mucks, and I take that one down with a stone cold bluff. Hand number 6 for review. So this is round 13. Blinds are at 700, 1400, and I have maybe 45K or 40K starting stack. And hand starts off with under the gun raising to 6K, under the gun plus 2 calls, and middle position then raises to 30K. I'm in the hijack and I look down at king of diamonds, king of clubs. Well, I gotta go all in now. So I jam it all in for 40K, a little bit over, and folds back around. Under the gun folds, under the gun plus 2, tanks and folds, and middle position guy snap calls. Well, he flips over aces. I have kings. Under the gun plus 2 says that he had king 10. Well, so the sweat is down to just the case king. So the dealer deals it out, and in the window is the case king, and I double up, more than double up, and my starting stack is now at 104K. This is some just plain old luck. I mean, that's all I could do. I waited around for a while and just got lucky against aces with the case king, and just got to go from there. This is round 13 though, and it is the final round, so it's looking good to go on to day 2. So I'm gonna go over a couple hands here, hand 7 and 8. Hand 7 was just a little bit of a doozy for the big stack. So I am at a table with the chip leader, and his tendency is to check flops and bet turns especially when he hits the turn. So we got into a tiff here where I had pocket 6s, board comes out jack 8-7, check check, and 5 comes out. I have an open-ended straight draw, he bets, I call, and river comes a brick 3, and so I'm left with pocket 6s, and so he makes a river stab, and you know, I'm pretty sure he has a 5 or some sort of middling pair here, so I call out his 5 and I tell him I think you have a 5. I'm gonna call, and sure enough, he has a 5. And I show pocket 6s and I take it down. Table's very impressed, but it leads into the next hand. Hand number 8 here, where I'm in middle position. There's 2 hands left in the night. And so I look down at pocket queens, middle position. I raise to 5,200. Villain from before, he's in the small blind. He re-raises to 15,000. So remember, this is 2 hands left. I didn't want to get into a tiff. I'm at about 140K. Average stack size is about 90K. So looking to go into day 2 with above average stack size. These are things that you have to sort of consider. But I do have pocket queens, and it is against the big stack who's V-pipping pretty crazily. So it's hard to tell when he has a real hand and when he's just bluffing, but he raises to 15,000. Comes back to me. I'm thinking about re-raising here with pocket queens, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't really want to flip ace-king against queens. He could have aces, he could have kings. It's just a tough spot. I'd rather play, you know, more thorough poker and just not flip for very much. But I ended up flat calling. And another issue here was that one of the tournament organizers came over and was like playing with my chips in the stack, and he was trying to trade chips, and it just got really crazy around me, and I don't think I could concentrate very well, and so I may have misplayed here pre-flop. I think the proper play is to re-raise to maybe 45K, or even just jam and see if he'll call with like 10s or 9s or something like this. But as it goes, I call, and the flop comes out 9-8-6, rainbow. He bets 25K. I have queens, and so I'm thinking it's probably pretty good. He still could have aces or kings, so once again I flat call. Probably should be a jam here, or if I think I'm beat, just fold it. There's 2 hands left. I want to go into day 2 with a above average stack size. I think I can still outplay some of these players. So, but I end up calling, and so I think calling is the worst option now that I look back. But that's what I end up doing. And the turn is the ace, and he leads again for 25K. So ace king gets there. Aces are less likely. Kings are still viable, although maybe a normal player would check with kings or a hand like that, but this guy is V-pipping like crazy. He's getting lucky. He's hitting 2 pairs. He's hitting sets. It's pretty crazy. It's really hard to read a player like that, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I don't really want to flip, and so I could be drawing dead here against aces, kings, ace-king, and so I fold the turn. I show him queens, face up. He shows me jacks. So definitely missed out on an opportunity to double up here. I had about 140K. I lost about 40K that hand, back down to 100K. It's unfortunate. Could have doubled up. I think if I had gone in pre-flop, he would have called, and that would have been stack size of maybe 280K going into day 2, which would have been coasting to the money. But you know, as I said earlier, I didn't want to get into too many coin flip situations. I know some people say you got to coin flip for these tournaments, but came all the way out here. Tournament entry is high. Definitely played it more conservative, but we'll see. I'll go into day 2 with above average stack size of about 112K, and average stack size is 90K. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I get another tip with him. Yeah, so that's how it goes sometimes, but I'm happy. Take a day off today, and then go back for day 2 on Sunday. And if we're so lucky, final table is on Monday.